Right. Well, I am excited to introduce Ella. I think she might be one of the most interesting people I've ever met.
Mm.
So, we are lifting into the cosmic realm with Ella LeBain, author and UFO researcher. With nearly 40 years of study, she bridges ancient prophecy and modern cosmic events. Buckle up as she takes us through truth, disclosure, and freedom in ways that are truly out of this world. So I'm going to go ahead and come off camera here. And if you need any help with your presentation, I will be here.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm so grateful to be here today. Thank you for having me. Um, I'm just going to share my screen here. And happy Lionsgate to everybody. Full moon in Aquarius. So today we're going to do a little unraveling the vortex. My book series is called Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo. And I connect dots. And you know, when you connect dots, you go up and down and all over the place and until you basically see the full picture. So I ask for your patience and bear with me as I connect a few dots for you today. This is a little bit about me and my background. I'm an experiencer and a witness, and I was on UFO Witness. They did a short docudrama of my abduction experience, and you can find that on season 2, episode 5. And I've been talking about overcoming the traumas of alien abductions for a while now. And before I start going down these rabbit holes, just want to tell you that this is me. I'm a Venn diagram. So before you pigeonhole me or judge me and say I'm one thing or the other, I might just shift into another gear here. I am a Messianic Jew. I was born Jewish, raised. I went to school in Israel, was educated in biblical Hebrew, and then I met Yeshua. And you know, Jews are not supposed to believe in Jesus, but he showed up for me several times in my 64 years of life on Earth. And in my book series, I prove who he truly is. And yes, he is an extraterrestrial by all definitions of the word. And so in today's presentation, I'm going to connect dots between my most recent book, The Cosmic Slingshot, which connects the dots to reincarnation in the Bible. And as many people probably know, that Christians reject reincarnation, but I prove that that's because the Church of Rome deleted it in 571 AD, and they didn't stop reincarnation. It's happening whether they believe in it or not. And this is a key piece in the end time prophecies. Because it has to do with transhumanism and the hybrids and genetic manipulation and bloodlines and birth right here on Earth. So I know you guys know this, but let's just start here. You are a soul. You have a body. And this is where we're going today because, as I always say, I am not in my body is in me. Because when the body ceases to exist, the soul moves on. So that's what we're going to focus on today. This is my new book, Finding Freedom When Horses Don't Fly, and that will be available worldwide in 2 months in October. And there's a pre-order button in my booth if anyone is interested. And in this book, it's a workbook, and that means that the reader gets to work their faith. So it's how to break generational curses through the courts of heaven. So a little bit about me. I'm a retired paralegal and for 25 years. And I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, and I had a near-death experience, and I was shown that as above, so below. So I'm going to connect dots to how we do this in the courts of heaven, which is run a little differently than the courts on earth, thankfully. There's a lot more grace in the courts of heaven than there is on the courts of on earth, but it is a very real phenomenon. And these horses here, these beautiful Percherons, were my therapists. And the title is kind of a tongue-in-cheek inside joke to my book series, because in my second book, Who is God, I go into that horses don't fly, because it is part of the end time prophecy where it talks about in Revelation these the horses of heaven coming to earth. And what I prove is that those are not real flesh and blood horses, those are spaceships. Okay, so I digress, but back to this is that we're breaking generational curses, and I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, also known as a lion. And here we are on Lionsgate, so how appropriate. And I got to a point where I decided the buck stops here. Once I learned about all the stuff that we carry over, not only through our bloodlines, but from past lives. And the promises of God is that he comes to heal the brokenhearted. And I'm a witness to that. So black sheep are chain breakers, who are the lions in their tribe. And they're born, the black sheep are the lions of the family system, who are the way showers, who are called to pave towards the liberation of one's family tree. And this goes back to deep antiquity. And many of us are usually outcasts. As I told you, I was born Jewish, but I had close encounters with a being named Yeshua, who I later learned was also known as Jesus Christ. I don't identify with the Christian religion. I am a completed Jew, and my Jewish family basically excommunicated me for that encounter. But thankfully, he has persisted to continue to look after me and guide me. And here I am, 45 years later, a survivor of a lot of family drama and trauma and generational curses, which this is a lot of new material I'm sharing with you today that's coming in the upcoming book. And many of you can maybe relate to this if you've always felt different than the rest of your family members, or if you felt like a scapegoat, or if you felt like you had to seek emotional support outside your family. Then you're the one in the family that is chosen to break the family curse, or as psychologists call it, the family trance. So, there's 39 curses that are listed in the Torah, in the Jewish Bible, and a handful of them are on women. So today I'm going to touch upon some of them, and how women have been severely subjugated and suppressed through religion, through religious spirits. And obviously, if you're a woman, you understand this. The curses had to do with pain in childbirth, and I say that that's not entirely true. That the true curse is on the hormonal cycle, because women go through ups and downs every month through their entire menstrual years. And it's not just limited to childbirth. As we know these days, women can have pain-free childbirth. And this has to do with how feminism has evolved historically in the past 150 to 200 years. So suffice to say, I have been writing about this for a while now. And in my sixth book, Heaven's Witness, I talk about when God was a woman. And this had to do with a period in our history that was completely matriarchal. And then it shifted into the patriarchal. And now we're coming back into balance. So we see that over the past 150 to 200 years, things have been shifting. And we're not going into a phase where one will take over or rule over the other, but we will enjoy balance. So in my book series, I've delineated and discerned and identified this ancient battle that has taken place between alien races on Earth. And this is all detailed in Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo. And a lot of it has to do with hybridization programs. And so this is the real Star Wars, and the truth is stranger than fiction, because a lot of our science fiction movies and TV series actually have real truths woven into them, and that, according to my opinion, by design, because I know that some of the writers and producers are given information and woven it in to prepare the public for what's to come. So there's no accident there. It's not a coincidence. Some things are by design, and we're dealing with a cosmic war over Earth and over us humans. So suffice to say, it's a clash between two kingdoms on Earth, and that explains for all the duality and the divisions. And the first book goes into that in detail. And this is a page that I actually got in the 1990s when I was teaching ETs, Aliens, or Angels, and to show that the two different kingdoms that are at clash, and they have to do with star systems that seeded our planet in deep antiquity, and that they have birthright over bloodlines here on Earth. So this is a little bit just a piece about my near-death experience, which was February 7th of 2010. And this is just a little illustration of what I saw. And I didn't actually, go to the courts of heaven. I was in some sort of in-between plane. I had a heart attack. I had blacked out for 2 minutes. And I saw Yeshua. And he took my hand, and we walked and talked together on this green field with this bluebird sky. And at the time, I was writing this book about the aliens, and he told me that he wanted me to rewrite it with him in it. So I did, and it's now turned into 7 books. So he's probably one of the most misunderstood characters in our history. So I try to explain things from a different perspective other than the religious one. And one of the things is the prophecies, and we are on a prophetic calendar, a prophetic timeline, and because time is constantly changing, it's a construct that is attached to Earth. Time is speeding up, but when you look at the prophetic calendar, you can get an idea of where we're at. And a lot of the prophecies have been fulfilled, and some are yet are being fulfilled. And one of the quintessential end time prophecies has to do with the return of the gods and the return of the Lion of Judah, who is known as Yeshua, who comes to save and redeem and restore humankind. So in past lives, we have, unbeknownst to us, sometimes we weren't conscious or aware of what we were agreeing to in terms of contracts and agreements. So contracts and agreements and covenants seem to follow us, follow people from lifetime to lifetime until they're broken. And sometimes people are kind of deceived into making agreements with the dark forces, so to speak, and they don't realize that they're the dark forces because they masquerade as light. So it's kind of like signing into something, and then you don't read the fine print, and then afterwards you're kind of, belong to the mafia, that kind of thing. And I find that a lot of the alien abduction scenarios has to do with that, which is why understanding past lives and reincarnation is a key piece in getting free of what's happening now. And there's a lot of manipulation that goes on through the soul body. So I also exposed, beginning in the first book and expounded in the Cosmic Slingshot, that reincarnation is being used and has been used and abused by the dark forces on Earth to harvest soul energies. And in the beginning of the Bible, people lived to be 900. The Methuselah lived to be 969. And then after the floods of Noah, everything changed, and people didn't live to be like past their 80s or 90s. Our telomeres go up to 120. That's a vast difference from people living to be 900. So what happened? There was a genetic manipulation. There was a downgrade, which is what we call the fall of humankind. So suffice to say that we have 2 strands of DNA operating, and then the other 10 strands were disabled because they wanted to create a slave race. I'm explaining something going ahead. And they thought if they shorten the lifespan, then they can harvest the soul energies quicker. This may sound crazy to you, but it's a thing. And I prove this in the book based on the history, based on the scripture, and based on our genetics. So a lot of people think that reincarnation is a Hindu concept. It actually is Jewish. It is in the Torah. Hinduism has their own version of it, although there are some things that coincide. And the Christians, the Church of Rome, rejected it and suppressed it because of financial reasons. Number one, they wanted to sell tickets to heaven through indulgences, so they decreed it a heresy that people had multiple lives to work things out. The other reason had to do with narcissism. The Empress of Rome at the time, 570 AD, was married to the Emperor Justinian, and she wanted to be remembered as a goddess of Rome, not as a peasant. So they ordered the monks to take all the scriptures out of the Bible. And one thing we can always count on, and that's human error. And those monks were only as good as their understanding of the words that represented reincarnation in Hebrew. And suffice to say, they left behind 24 scriptures, a whole chapter, and all the Hebrew words. So one of the words is kafakela, which literally translates to cosmic slingshot, which is the Hebrew word for reincarnation, and gilgulim, the wheels of the soul, which dovetails into the Hindu concepts. So suffice to say, the ancient world all believed in it until the Church of Rome tried to decree it heresy. So I'm unpacking this, and I've exposed this in the Cosmic Slingshot. And one of the conversations between Yeshua, Jesus, and his disciples was, who was he in a past life? Because that's where their heads were at. That's what they all thought of, because they believed in reincarnation. So they knew that whoever was on the earth had to have been somebody before. And someone like him, who had this ability to do miracles and raise the dead and heal the sick and exorcise demons out of people, he had to have been somebody special. So they asked him, who were you? Were you Elijah? And he said, no, Elijah already came. That was John the Baptist. But then the text stops there. Maybe they deleted his answer. Maybe he never answered. So in my book, I'm answering it based on scripture. And the Christophanies, which are pre-incarnate appearances of Christ in the Old Testament, was Melchizedek. And Melchizedek and Yeshua were one and the same. They have the same names. They have the same, like Melchizedek started the communion with the bread and the wine. He did that with Abraham, and that's exactly what Yeshua did. So they have so many parallels, so many similarities, that I am concluding that he was the reincarnation of Melchizedek, because the New Testament actually tells us this, that he is a priest after the order of Melchizedek, which is a divine authority. It's a heavenly authority, not an earthly authority, like the priests of the temple had to be born through an earthly tribe of Levi. He has this authority from heaven. It's extraterrestrial. So it says in the Bible that we were created in the image and likeness of the gods. So this another thing that I've uncovered and exposed in my book series are mistranslations that have created misunderstandings and false beliefs. And one thing about the Hebrew language is that it's very specific. It's a language of physics, and things are either plural or singular, masculine or feminine, and it makes it easy to decipher the language. And in this Genesis 1:26, the creation verse, in the English Bible, it's all singular. Everything in the English Bible is singular, which confuses people, because it says God said this, then God said that, and people go, well, how could he contradict himself? And the answer to a lot of these contradictions is a mistranslation, because they're not the same God. So what I do in my second book, Who is God, is unpack the whole cast of characters of gods in the Old Testament. And there was a cast of characters. So here we have in the creation myth about the Elohim, which literally translates to gods. And it basically says, and the Elohim, the gods, created, and the word for man is Adam. So Adam was the Hebrew word for human or man, mankind. So they created humans in their own image, in their own likeness, and then they created them male and female, and it says that they were created equal. So we went through some fall after that, because there was an intervention, and I'm going to get into this in some later slides, about the Anunnaki and how they came to create a slave race from humans, and they downgraded our DNA. So I'm of the camp, or of the belief, the perspective, that we humans had it all at one time. We had all 12 strands of DNA operating, and we were downgraded. And now we're coming into a time where we're going to get restored, and we're going to get it back. And that's the ascension. So back to my connecting dots here, back to my legal background. So I was shown that as above, so below, which is an old Hermetic philosophy, and that in order to get our freedom back and our healing and our deliverance, we have to address the spiritual legal ground in our lives. And so there is such a thing as the courts of heaven. And some situations in our lives are so deep and so complicated that we have to go before the courts of heaven to find freedom. So the cast of characters has to do with our relationship with our creator God, the judge, the mediator, our advocate, who is Yeshua, the Holy Spirit, who is our witness. And the word Satan in Hebrew means adversary or accuser or rebel, and that's who the prosecutor is. So when we understand our position on earth as well as in heaven, we can find freedom by doing it God's way. And one thing that the dark forces don't have, and they don't have the ability to do this, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a superpower, and it might seem very, like humble and light and not like a lot of effort. But for some of us, forgiveness is a very difficult thing to do, especially when a soul has been so traumatized and so broken. And to be able to forgive the unforgivable is a supernatural feat. And we can't do this alone. And I am saying this because I'm one of those people. Okay. I'm not going to spend time telling you what happened to me. I had a lot of trauma, and this is how I came through it and out the back door, because I was told, and I understood this intellectually, that forgiveness means freedom, but I couldn't feel it. And I realized that it's not about feeling, that it's about my will, because our emotions can play tricks on us. And just because I don't feel like it doesn't mean I don't want to do it. So this is what finding freedom is about, is aligning our wills, because we do have free will and we do have the ability to choose mentally, spiritually, and eventually, this is the mind body spirit connection. Eventually the body will follow, the emotional, the flesh, all of that is the last to get these messages. So we're in this position with the reptilians here on Earth, who are um, out for our soul energies. And forgiving the people who have hurt us frees us from them siphoning our energies, vampirizing us. Okay, so this is a thing. Deliverance means freedom, but we can't do it by ourselves. We have to align with the deliverer, who is Yeshua, and his name means salvation and deliverance. So this has to do with breaking curses. So he did that, but it's almost like having a blank credit card. Like somebody can give you a credit card and it can have like $1 million available credit, but if you don't activate it, you'll never experience that. And that's what the relationship between us and him does. So when you activate that, all you got to do, it's really simple, is just call on his name, because it's so simple that people miss it. Call on the name of Yeshua to be saved. And it's not about religion, it's about your soul. And he guides you to getting free of these dark forces. And there's quite a few of them. So when it comes to curses, okay, the proverb said that like a fluttering sparrow or darting swallow, an undeserved curse does not come to rest. But there are other stuff that are beyond our control. So one of the things that I struggled with was the phrase being born in sin. And I thought, how could somebody, a baby, someone who is very innocent, be born in sin? Well, the word sin comes from archery terms, which means to miss the mark. And it's literally error. And when I finally woke up to all of this, after I woke up from a hypnagogic spell, which I'm going to unpack now for you, is that had to do with a genetic error. Okay, not that the soul was bad or that we were bad or that we were born bad, but that we were born into a lower form of the human image, the 2 strands of DNA, which all of us have. These other 10 strands are disabled. And that's what's the ascension. That's what we're going to get back. We're going to be restored. So restored from who and what? These alien experiments on our DNA has been going on since deep antiquity through implants, pathogens, and biological material. And so one of the things that has to do with us getting free of this matrix okay, of this cycles of trauma and drama and reincarnating back into it, getting free out of it, is to break our agreements with the God of this world, who are the rebel aliens. And the word Satan isn't a singular, it's a plurality. There's a whole hierarchy of them. And one of the things here is that to become aware of the spiritual legal ground is to become aware of the mind body spirit connection. And over the past 3 decades, thanks to the Body Mind Spirit Expo, they've been increasing awareness of this connection, which is a scientific connection. It's a real phenomena. So that what we do with one part of ourselves eventually will manifest into the body. And so this has to do with accepting and taking on the mind of Christ. And some people call it Christ consciousness, but it's a little bit more detailed than that. So these wars over humankind are the roots of racism on planet Earth. And my 4th book, Covenants, goes into great detail about that. And this goes way back into the past, because the books of Enoch actually describe this to us. And they, by the way, were also rejected out of the Bible canon because they're just so true. And the angelic war is detailed in there, and they name names. 200 of these sons of God came in through a portal on Mount Hermon, took women for their wives, and had children with them, and created all these miscreants and Nephilim, which is why the Creator God sent the floods of Noah to wipe them out. But they didn't all get wiped out. Some of them went inside the earth, and the rest have their DNA, their bloodline, through birthright, through marriage, through covenant, reincarnating on the earth. So most of us today are a bit of both. We're hybrids, we're star seeds, we're a little bit of everything. We're kind of a potpourri. And the alien human hybridization program is connected to the cycles of reincarnation. So one of the things that has to do with the alien threat has to do with the injuries that people who have come in close proximity with UFO alien technologies have reported. And this is the Pentagon reports, by the way, of all the impacts that they have had on their physical body from even witnessing or seeing a spaceship, let alone interacting with some of the aliens. And so what I've done in my book series is and this started in book 1, but it is completed now in Finding Freedom, is the alien implants. And, you know, back in the 90s, everybody focused on the body, the physical, like Dr. Roger Lear pulling implants out of people's ankles, but nobody focused on the etheric body. And that's really where the majority of implants are put in. So these are my little stick figures, just to give an idea. And I'm sure all of you who are attending Body, Mind, Spirit Expo conferences understand the chakra system, the energy body. And this is my little stick figure here of how to illustrate the 7 layers of the energy body and how the aliens put implants into our energy body, which eventually manifests into the physical body. So one of the things about our situation, the fact that we've been downgraded, is that a lot of us have to work hard at seeing things that most people can't see. Suffice to say, the aliens can see us how we are. They see us glow. They see the soul. They see the energy body, even though we can't. So that's how they're able to manipulate through implants and spiritual limitation devices. And they also use the brain. So they put things up the nasal cavity into the brain for mind control. So this is actually a thing. Okay, so this is a book that was written anonymously by an alien abductee that had to do with the nasal implant. Why I'm presenting this here is because I had one. And after my near death experience, after I met Yeshua and he told me all of this, he took it away. It disappeared. And with the disappearance of my nasal implant, which was this little BB on the right side nostril that I had since I was 2 years old, disappeared, and so did all my allergies, my hormonal problems, because this had to do with being tagged for the alien human hybridization program. And then I found that this was a peer-reviewed study in the University of France on alien implants. So this is a thing. So this is something that I got a glimpse of in the energy body, and that is a device. This is what you're seeing on the left screen is our DNA, and what you're seeing on the right is an implant that is woven into our DNA, and this is called the cruciform implant. And I saw this in the energy body because it had to do with religious trauma. Okay, so people who were implanted with this had different experiences like stigmata, and they had this victim consciousness. And this goes really deep into the Church of Rome and all of that. And then I saw it show up in Mission Impossible as a key to the plot, of the movie. So, the truth is stranger than fiction. And this is a very big piece, because as soon as you say the name Yeshua, most people don't understand who Yeshua is, because that's his Hebrew, that was his original name. But if you say the word Jesus, everybody freaks out. And that's because of trauma. That's because of, all of my books, by the way, are dedicated and devoted to all those who have been wounded by religion. And Jews understand that, because the Jews have been persecuted by the Church of Rome for millennia. So religious trauma is a thing. And people come through and it causes them to disconnect from the creator. So, no pun intended, but you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is something I realized. And I had to connect through relationship with the creator and with my Messiah, and separate it from the religion. Okay, because so many people have been traumatized and wounded to the point where they won't even talk to God anymore, and that means that the dark forces won. So besides the mind control that they try to instill on people, there is within the spirituality and the relationship, and that's really all that matters, because it's not what it's who that matters when you pass over on the other side. So this is just a list. This is in my book of common symptoms that people, I'll leave it up so you can read it for a little bit while I talk. Common symptoms of alien abductions that have been reported by abductees. This was given to me by my friend Evie Largen, who wrote The Love Bite back in the 1990s. And she basically exposed that some relationships were created by the aliens. They were put together on the ships, where the aliens would put people together, and then they would have this kind of fatal attraction thing on Earth, just so that they can harvest the misery and the loosh that comes off of heartbreak. I kid you not, this is a thing. So is needle phobia. And because this is something that the aliens do, is they use injections. I was one of these people that had this, and I would pass out at the sight of a needle up until I was age 25, when I consciously decided I better get over this, because one day I want to have a baby and they're going to put needles in me or take blood or whatever, and I have to stay awake. So I went through a program to get over this with these two East Indian doctors, and I overcame it. And I realized later down the road that this had to do, that my phobia was not only from the abductions, but it was rooted in my previous lifetime. So I had to break those agreements. And another symptom of abductions is sleep paralysis. And so, if you're experiencing this, this means that your soul is being taken in your sleep. So, first of all, the very word abduction is a little bit of a misnomer because in our vernacular, abduction means kidnapping. And like if somebody gets kidnapped, they usually have a ransom and then, to get them back. The aliens don't have ransoms. They just temporarily take you and then put you back. So it's not like a true abduction, it's a temporary one. But they're not even taking your physical body, they're taking your etheric body. So if you think Star Trek, it's like a demolecularization, remolecularization of your etheric body that they bring up on the ship, and then they do all these different things to you, and then they put you back into your physical body. Again, the mind body spirit connection. By the time you wake up, you feel like something's just happened to you. You have bruises on your physical body. Where did that come from? You never left the bed. There's blood on your body. There's hairs. There's different types of things that people experience. And this is sleep paralysis, has to do with a hypnagogic spell that the aliens put on us so that we cannot move. It's a form of mind control, so that we can't move and we can't talk even. Okay, so speaking is another big thing. So another part of this had to do with allergies. And this book was written by this English researcher, Albert Budden, who connected the dots between allergies and aliens. And boy, that couldn't be more true for me, because when I got my implant removed, all my allergies disappeared. I had food sensitivities. I was allergic to cats. I was allergic to hay fever. Now I can't live without my cats. I mean, they're all over me. So, getting free from all of this really represents and manifests as healing. So, this is just some illustrations about what they do, particularly to women, okay? Because women not only are used as incubators, but also nurturers. So they can take sperm out of one man, eggs out of one woman, put it together, mix it with their genetics, and put that embryo into a completely different female to incubate it, then take it away after about 8 weeks, sometime during the first trimester, and then raise and grow that hybrid on the ships or underground on the moon or underground on Earth, okay? And then women get abducted to nurture those fetuses by holding them, because they know that they're part human. And in order to grow a human, we need to be touched. So they take the women to hold and coddle and cuddle and nurture these hybrids. And I was one of those women. And I'm not the only one. There are many out there that have had this experience. So this is one, not the only one, of the main purposes of the abductions, is to create these alien human hybrids. And the children are being raised off planet on ships in underground labs. And what this was called, when I was in my very first support group in 1994, called ISCNI, the Institute for the Study of Contact with Non-Human Intelligence, was they called it a wise baby dream, because we would have these dreams, all of us would have very repetitive, similar things, where we were handed these fetuses with these big adult heads on them, and given them to swaddle and cuddle. So they got coined as wise baby dreams. So this is kind of like part of the end time prophecies, because people need to be careful what they wish for. They want to meet an alien. They wish to know who the aliens are, and uh, you know, we're all mixed up with them because we're already a type of hybrid. So these are just some books that of other authors who have also disclosed and exposed um, the harvesting of souls through alien implants that is being used for mind control and enslavement. Dr. John Mack, Dr. David Jacobs, Dr. Roger Lear, they all seem to come up with a very similar conclusion that aliens want to use us humans and control us for their purposes, to alter our culture through implants and our sexuality, and harvest DNA for the alien human hybrids. So there's more information about the history of these genetic wars that's kind of started with the Anunnaki, and that's what we have written in stone in the Sumerian tablets. So what I'm saying is that they didn't create humankind. They genetically downgraded the human DNA in order to enslave humankind. And this is where the story of freedom comes from, because this is what Yeshua came to set the captives free. And this is woven into all the cultures on earth. Okay, and the Church of Rome seems to be, they want to lead. They want to be the authority for the Anunnaki on earth. And everything about their rituals are all ancient Babylonian Anunnaki, which I prove in great detail in my books. So basically, what we're all being called to do right now is to reconcile with the Lord of the Spirits, who is Yeshua. And he's been written about in the rejected texts, as well as kind of covered up and I mean, everybody knows who Jesus is, but they manipulated him. So if we can extract the relationship from the religion, we can get free, because it's not about the religion. It's about our relationship. And the promises of God is to reconcile us humans with the Creator God. And the quintessential end time prophecy is the return of not only the gods for their final battle on earth, but some people actually believe, and I toy with this idea, that the Anunnaki are returning to earth to fix what they did wrong. After all, the purpose in Judaism of reincarnation is teshuvah, which means correction, which means that as we are evolving, so are these gods evolving, and they have to fix what they did. They have to undo that. This is their atonement, so to speak. So this is all part of them accelerating the spiritual awakening and the evolution of human consciousness. So these are enemies of our souls that plague humankind. This is a very real serpent spirit that lives inside the earth, that the Bible has chapters about, the Leviathan, twisted serpent spirit, which seems to come behind all those who are kind of plagued with narcissism and narcissistic projection. They twist the truth, they blame shift, they project, and they don't. It's called the king of pride in the Bible. So this is what Yeshua gives us authority and power over if we accept him. And then, because C.S. Lewis said, you're either owned by God or countered by Satan. There's no neutral ground. So this is a deceptive spirit. It's a dragon spirit that humans are contending with. And this is why, but we have stories that these spirits were taken down through people who were, meek and had just a simple faith. Faith is a currency. And like the example of David killing the giant Goliath. So in my book series, I kind of go over all this, the history, the Vatican, the UFOs in Israel. And so, what I have to say is just be careful of the half truths that people receive these days. That it's not that you don't get hold of the wrong half, because this is an age of discernment to discern the mass deception that comes at the end of this age. And as I say to people, when it comes to UFO disclosure, don't put all your eggs in one basket, meaning we can't wait with bated breath for the US government to tell us everything, although the US government is giving us just piecemeal, drip by drip disclosure, and there's another shoe to drop in September. But we're going to piece it together, and maybe this is by design, so people have a chance to integrate and process all this. And yes, according to the scriptures, there is life on other planets. God did make other types of beings, other humans, as well as alien creatures, and they're not all demons. So in my first book, I expose this Machiavellian alien agenda and point people to unite, because this is what we have power in our community, in uniting with each other and agreeing on the fact that we're souls and we have bodies. And the aliens want to divide us. They want to keep us divided over everything, whether it's politics or gender or religion or spirituality, you name it. This has been their agenda all along, because they can manipulate us when we're divided. And when we come together, we have some power. So thank you very much for listening today. I don't think that the situation is something we can do on our own. We need help. We need intervention, and we need a savior. And this is just a tongue-in-cheek little comic here, but the truth is stranger than fiction. And I'm going to be in my booth if anyone wants to do a little Q&A. And I'm also offering through my code Lionsgate on my website. It's 11% discount on all my books plus free shipping. And you can sign up to win a free book box. Thank you so much.